We always budget in a half hour extra.
Hi.
Hear us?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So do you want me to just pause it until you officially start the meeting?
Yeah, just for a second.
So,
Pause.
I like that there's a
All right, it's recording.
convergence between your list and mine.
Yeah.
Of validating.
So, it is, what time is it? It is 5:34, calling the meeting to order of the Governance Committee. The first item on our agenda tonight is to discuss the draft employee handbook. We're hoping that we can kind of resolve as many questions or comments or other issues as possible so that there'll be something on Thursday that can be voted on by the full board. I had previously circulated a bunch of kind of little comments and questions, and then Matt had also independently circulated his own bunch of comments and questions and things like that. I don't know if it makes sense to just try and quickly run through. I don't want to take a ton of time, but we could just try and run through and just see
Yep.
what.
And I have Allison's email
All right.
too.
I have them, like both mine and Matt's all kind of tabbed in my version of it here, so we can try and just go kind of in order, I think.
Sure.
I had flagged that the code of ethics, which is in here from pages 9 to 13, wasn't matching the version that was on the website. There was some different section heading numbering and things like that. Allison's email today says that it now matches
Yep.
it, so that's been kind of swapped out, I guess. Okay.
Yep.
So that one thing is resolved. There's a bigger issue that I want to discuss, which is now that we have two of our policies, which is the code of ethics and the harassment and anti-discrimination policy that are kind of fully incorporated in the employee handbook. Do we want to keep those as standalone policies, or do we want to kind of treat them as just, part of, policies that are embedded in the handbook? And just because as we go forward and we're either the handbook is getting amended or the policies are getting amended, do we have to keep them in sync and keep, doing two sets of amendments on both just to keep everything in sync with each other? Or do we just say, well, they're just incorporated in the handbook as part of the handbook? I don't know, but we can talk about that later, but just something to think about. Anyway, Matt had flagged in the first section on page 9, in the first paragraph of the purpose, code of ethics purpose, bottom of page 9, it's missing a word. It says, therefore, board of trustees should be the board of trustees.
I think for my notes, like I gave you a bunch of copy edits,
Okay.
notes.
Yep.
This is all spacings, right?
Yep.
Bolds, underlines, that sort of jazz, right? And a general ask for consistency in titling and how bulleted lists are presented. And I enumerate all that in these like 20 odd comments. I don't think we need to walk through those.
Okay, we don't have to talk about each of those then. We'll just try and hit the more substantive ones here, I guess. So the next one I had was you had asked about the gifts
Yes.
provision where it says no public employee may accept a gift with a value in excess of $75. And you had asked about the $15.
Yeah, so the state has a $15 gift policy, nominal gifts. So why are we at 75?
Well, so I was like, after your comment, because I didn't know any of this, I looked it up and it looks like there are two different numbers where the 75 is an absolute cap and anything over $75 by an employee, that's like absolutely prohibited. The 15 is a separate, that's a exemption where like, it's like food and small, token things and things like that that are under $15 are completely exempted. I'm not clear on what between 15 and 75 is okay and what is not, but both the 75 and the 15 are numbers that are in New York law, that they just different things, but I didn't spend enough time on it to understand.
Yeah. And Aaron, to that point, just went with the 75.
Yeah.
Okay.
75 is the hard limit where things are cut off above that.
Because we have gotten, like, for example, when we were going through our payroll, like we interviewed like 3 different ones and one of them showed up with like a bag of cookies, just like to a meeting. So I'm sure that was like under $15 too. We accepted it. So.
So then moving on to page 13. One comment, and I don't know if this is resolved by the updating the code of conduct to the new version, but this Effective date, it doesn't seem like this policy shall take effect on June, that piece there. Doesn't seem like that really needs to be included here when it's a policy that's embedded inside the handbook. I mean, the
Okay.
handbook is, the handbook will be adopted when the board, adopts
Right,
it.
and then
it'll
that-
be separately inside.
Yeah.
And then that appendix B, I don't know what that was from, but, it doesn't seem, I mean, we have a whole separate section that's the harassment and discrimination policy. So I don't think that in appendix D is serving any purpose here. And I'm not sure where it came from in the first place. It just seemed like an extraneous paragraph. So it seems like those two just aren't needed.
Okay.
There was, me and Matt had both asked questions about the definitions of full-time and part-time employees. Now, I understand that it just seemed weird the way it was phrased. A full-time employee is one who regularly works 35 or 37.5 or more hours per week.
Yeah, the problem is that we have three different contracts.
Right.
So the MC staff are they're full-time at 35 hours and the CSEA staff are 37 and a half full-time. So that's why there was two definitions.
Yeah, I wondered, why are we, because it's also kind of weird because both me and Matt pointed out, it leaves this gap between 25 and 35 where we're not defined. Now, I understand we don't currently have any employees that are in there. All of our part-time people are less than 25.
Right, and we're actually gonna try and get that language out of the contract period with negotiations, that there's gonna be no benefited part-timers at all.
Okay.
So
Um,
it still exists because, yep,
I was just gonna say, could we just reference to the contracts, like full-time as per whatever contract, instead of having specific numbers in the handbook?
And well, I wondered, is there anything, and maybe I missed something that's relevant, but I didn't see anything that turned on being full-time or part-time that was different, in the handbook provisions where we need to define who's full-time and who's part-time in here. Are there provisions? Maybe there are. I don't want to do that if there was something. Because most of the things that are specific to exactly what benefits you get and things like that, those are all, in the contracts and not
That's true.
in the handbook. So I wondered if we even needed to,
I see what you're saying. So would the recommendation be just to delete it? Because if there's not, I mean, handbook wise, there wouldn't be something like, oh, a part-timer can do this, but a full-timer can't, or vice versa, I don't think.
Yeah, so I mean, assuming there isn't anything that turns on, needing to, either we keep it in and just say, the, hourly, criteria for part-time and full-time employees are, defined in the respective contracts or something like that and
I got it.
leave it at that.
Okay.
And then it's just, we don't need to define it here.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think where, and to answer the question as well about the point you brought out about the Code of Ethics and Sexual Harassment Policy, I think wherever this document can reference other documents, that we should leave it that way. Right?
Yeah.
It's taking them out. That's what to your earlier point,
Yeah.
maybe we just say the library has a, anti-harassment policy, please,
Yeah,
review the
you-
website for updated policies.
Right, and include, say where, Board of Trustees policy, just have it reference that rather than be embedded, and we only have to update it in one place.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing here when we talk about full-time, part-time, right, just reference the
The contract as often as we can.
Yeah.
Okay. Links to policies instead of, and that came out of Bethlehem, they released their handbook and it's all of their policies were in the handbook. So that's
Sure.
where that came from. It was oh, this is what we're doing now. So that's how this draft got started
Okay.
with all the,
I mean, I think when it comes to onboarding, right, if you print them a copy of the handbook and alongside that, this handbook references your contract and the Code of Ethics
And
and
then
this
here's
other thing,
this
and
and
then
this.
here's
Yeah.
those separate pieces.
Right, if you put it in there in the handbook and then we change the policy, then you'd have to change the handbook as well, so
got it.
I think
Okay.
we want to stay away from that.
So links to policies instead and links to, refer to contract when we're trying to
Well,
define something.
the one on, downside of that right now is that this anti-discrimination and harassment policy is very substantially revised from the one we have currently on the
Yeah.
website. And so if we adopt this right now, it's got the new language, the new policy in there instead of the old. If we just cut it out right now and just reference it, then we still have the old one until we get around to updating that, which, maybe we
Yeah.
can get to it, soon, but it's not currently updated, so I don't know what's the right short-term answer on this.
Didn't we just do the sexual harassment policy?
No, we started looking at it, but then we kind of got into it and started looking at it, and we compared some other library ones, but then they brought up that that the employee handbook was in the works and this was incorporated in the employee handbook. So we said,
Oh,
okay,
no.
let's defer that and wait till the employee handbook comes out and then
Yeah.
we'll see what we're doing after that. So we haven't adopted a new one yet. So, you know, we could adopt it as is here and then at some point later,
Update the website.
when we update the website, then we could amend the handbook to just reference the new versions. I mean, I don't know. I think the theory was that we want to get in a regular cycle of
Yeah.
updating the handbook so it doesn't go, I don't
Yeah,
know.
we want it to be a living document.
Yeah, I mean, I think it went a long time since the last revision of 10 years, yeah. So,
Mhm.
I don't know.
I mean, we could, I don't want to maintain the same copy of information in two separate places.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
Better to.
to that point, I think if we excise the policies, the ethics, all that from this handbook, and we prioritize for our next meet,
Yeah,
the sexual harassment, like we've got an agenda that's got like 3 or 4 things on it right now. I think that sexual harassment policy goes on the agenda and it goes to the top of the agenda.
I think that's fair.
yep, I
I
agree.
think that's fair. So maybe we do that. Cut them out,
Mhm.
do that, and then the sexual harassment policy kind of with this as this version that's in the handbook right now as kind of the baseline or that we're working from, we kind of prioritize that and maybe we get that next month or
Makes
soon.
sense.
All
And
right,
then for page 13, we'll just say like, refer to the definition of,
Yeah, refer to your respective collective bargaining
Yeah.
agreements.
okay.
all right. So next substantive comment at the top of 14, Matt had flagged this, the performance reviews, it says new employees will be formally evaluated in writing and or orally by the director or director's designee. And the question was, don't we want that in writing?
So yes, as it is now, we have a form that they use.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if we just strike the language that says,
And orally?
yeah, allow,
Oh, okay.
or get rid of, sorry, Mike, the language again.
It was in writing and or orally, so
Yeah.
maybe we just,
Get rid
in
of
writing,
and or,
period.
yeah, just say in writing.
Okay.
Because I think that's, you know, that's the kind of thing we want paper on, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and we
So-
are currently doing paper.
Yeah.
There are also, this is one example, there are also a couple more like passive assertions in this book,
Mhm.
right? Or in this handbook. So page 14, fourth paragraph under performance review. The line starts with, it is expected that supervisors are doing this, that, and the other in terms of perform, right? So just like Nick's, it is expected, right? And like supervisors are required to,
Stronger language.
Yeah.
remove that sort of passive expectation. Like, I'm glad you expect that, but like, I
Yeah.
didn't do it.
You're right, on that one, we could just cross those words out and just leave it as supervisors and employees will meet regularly, and that works fine. You don't
Okay.
even need, yeah, so that's good. The next couple things were just type, you know, little proofreading stuff, so skip those.
Page 15, I've got one for you. Page 15 under page pay corrections. There's a line that
I think
says,
that's on 16.
oh, did I miss?
Yeah, that's it, yeah,
Fine.
yeah, no, but it's the right one. I mean, I think it's page numbers.
Yeah, so under pay corrections, there's a line that says corrections will not be made for errors to any payroll in excess of 1 year from when the error was made. Can we do that?
So I did a little research on this and the answer is probably not.
Yeah.
Under either federal or New York law, if it's characterized and it seems like New York law is actually a little stricter than that. And there's like a 6-year statute of limitations on unpaid wages claims. And
Say
so
6 years or 6 months?
6 years. And so under federal law, it's like a maybe you could get away with it because under federal law, if it's characterized as a violation of minimum wage or overtime requirements, then you can't contractually restrict the amount of time. But if they're being paid in excess of minimum wages, not impacting like the minimum wage plus overtime issues, then you may be able to contract around it, you know, through the collective bargaining and get, it's not 100% clear, but you maybe, but under New York state law, it looks like it's tougher. And even because the New York state labor law provision doesn't just apply to minimum wage and overtime, it also just applies generally to unpaid wages. So I don't think that would be enforceable if we did that. I think,
Pull that sentence entirely.
yeah,
Pull the sentence, do you want it replaced with anything?
I don't think, I think that folks with compelling evidence regarding their pay being wrong at any point should be able to go, well,
Yeah.
6 years, I think, is a very reasonable cap.
Okay.
I
I think
mean,
let the law govern it.
yeah, I mean, it's typically, it's a contractual matter, that most contractual things have like a 6-year statute. It's like one of the longer statutes of limitations is for contractual provisions. And so I think that's what will tend to govern it. But,
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but I doubt it's enforceable because
Okay.
Sure.
um,
Outside employment, this me as well.
yeah, you would also,
So there's a clause in the handbook, under outside employment, the last paragraph of that section.
What section is that? I'm sorry.
it's on 16 under outside employment in the middle of the page.
Yeah, there's it talks about, Mike, could I have the line?
Yeah, it says that the employee assigns the library rights in any inventions, discoveries, et cetera. And it says things that are developed during employment related to the library's business or made using company resources.
Right, so my umbrage with this sentence here is that if somebody off the clock that works in a library space develops something related to libraries, the fact that they are employed by Gilderland, their activity outside of their employment with Gilderland should not confer their intellectual property to Gilderland.
Yeah, and so the example for this was like, say, Jocelyn's Storytime, Sky Friends. So like that was created here, so that's technically like Gilderland's property.
Sure.
So it's like if Jocelyn decided to, go to another library, it's not that she can't take Sky Friends with her, like, and start Sky Friends over at Bethlehem.
Sure.
It's just that we also still get to, like, you don't own Sky Friends, Gilderland does. So we could
Right.
continue Sky Friends. So it's more like anything created here on the clock. we
Right,
keep.
and that's
Right.
that's what's missing.
So I think,
Okay.
I think it's this related to the library's business. It's kind of a little too broad because that can kind of sweep in thing. And it's during employment just seems to be like saying like during the time when you're working at, like while you're employed.
Right.
I think of this last line instead, it could be, during working hours or using library resources.
See, like in the course of employment.
What's that?
Like in the course of employment, does that make sense?
Because even then, it still
Yeah.
kind of covers, like, I've been employed at Gilderland for 4 years. If I do anything outside, yeah.
I think, I think if somebody's doing it and they're not on the clock, or, I mean, I guess what do you do for non-hourly employees where there's not like an on the clock or whatever? So like, if you want to cover that, that has to be a little broader, I
Yeah,
guess.
so I think it's like something that you created specifically for Gilderland. And that's why I gave the story time
Yeah, right,
example. It's like, yes, Jocelyn created that here. She can take it anywhere else, but we still get to do
Right,
it.
yeah, Sky Friends exists
Yep.
here, but I think that
So it's like, how do you explain
Yeah, I don't know
that
what's it-
specifically?
Yeah, what was the language somebody said?
in the course of employment,
Yeah, like something created, or developed in the course of employment or using library resources.
yeah,
Something like
that makes sense to me. And I would read like course of employment as related to the discharge of your duties,
Mm,
Yeah,
right? I think that makes sense. And it really tightens up like if I do something that is valuable in like my field of work, but I do not develop it on the company time, but I leverage it in like the work that I do with my company,
sure.
I maintain ownership of my ideas. They might, take the process, right?
Yeah.
But like I'm not like precluded from taking that with me.
Got it. Okay, so just more clarifying language around that. Got it.
okay. All right, next thing, let's see. That was,
16.
the next substantive thing I have is on 18.
Yeah, breaks.
What, Matt had a comment on the no call, no show,
Yes.
saying, should we say something about extenuating circumstances? Because here it just seems absolute. Failure to report to work without appropriate notification is considered job abandonment and will be grounds for termination. Do we need to say, or do we want to say something like that at the end, just say absent extenuating circumstances or something like that?
I think it's fine to give a time frame. And Bethany, I see you got your hand up.
I just was gonna ask, is there anything in the contracts about that?
I think So it's more, I think pertains to their leave, like when you,
Yes.
like what you need for sick time, what you need for.
Okay, there's
hours.
nothing about call-in procedures or anything. Okay.
I can review that.
I know.
But yeah, like to your point, we can add like extenuating circumstances or, because like we have had people who, have had accidents, ended up in the hospital and couldn't.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
we don't want somebody that ends up in like an honest to God emergency to suddenly be out of job.
And we did actually recently just send out an email to all staff just saying, please update your emergency contact in our payroll software, but also your emergency contact should have the HR's direct line in case for whatever reason you can't tell your supervisor that you can't come to work and someone needs to report for
Right.
you. So maybe we can add some of that language
Sure.
instead, like if for whatever reason you are unable to report, please, ensure that your emergency contact has the HR's number so
Yeah.
they can report for you.
Yeah, so I think you could just say barring extenuating circumstances, comma space, failure to report shall be appropriate notification. We are several pages down, we're on no call with Phil, somewhere around 18. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go down a whole bunch. We're at 18 or so.
All right, so the next one we had, yep, so now I think we're on breaks.
Yep.
So my comment on breaks was that we have the bolded language at the bottom, which says under New York State labor law, employees must take a meal break if their shift is at least 6 hours. But then up in the very first paragraph of this, we say each employee must take the meal period every day without exception. And I wondered, like, what are we saying even for shorter shifts, they have to do it? Or are we only saying if it's a 6 hour or longer shift?
6 hour or longer, and Allison said she added a clarifying statement to the opening line. I just didn't, I haven't seen what that is yet because it's on her copy.
Okay. Oh, yeah, she says added clarifying statement. Okay, so
Yep.
that's good there. Matt had a comment about the holiday closings.
Yeah, so I know we're talking about holidays in the bargaining agreements.
Yep.
So, in keeping with referencing in one place, I think we strike
Reference
the
the
list.
contract. Yeah.
Yep, reference the holiday closings, right? We are per the respective collective bargaining agreements or management confidential contracts. Strike the next entire section and say the library is reference those for where the library is closed and in what circumstance.
Can I ask actually, because I know that, I don't know exactly what to say, but the contracts say something about holidays, but also, the board every year votes, at our beginning, our organizational meeting, we vote on the holidays that are gonna be recognized as holidays. So is that, like, how does that interact between the collective bargaining agreement and what the board kind of designates as our official holidays?
So as of right now, because when there isn't a negotiating year,
Yeah,
it works exactly like you say, the board in their annual meeting, you decide what the contract is, or excuse me, what the calendar is. When we're in negotiating, holidays are part of the negotiation, so whatever ends up happening with that negotiation, there's, depending on where we are in the calendar year, so let's say, hey, we wrap up, next meeting and we agree to all of these holidays, there would be an immediate MOA to either update what's currently happening or it goes into effect the next contract year. So then you would already, so it would like coincide. So it's like if we agreed to close Indigenous Peoples' Day, this coming July, you would say, okay, Indigenous Peoples' Day 26, we're going to close because that would coincide with the contract and the calendar.
But we as the board don't have what authority exists to dictate closings in contradiction of the contracts?
well, I
Is
mean,
that germane to this conversation right now?
No, so I was just wondering, so I think probably the reason I was asking is, I think we should chop out the list of holidays there, right?
And say whatever the contract.
But keep that last line on the top of 19, which says the board has the option of revising the list of holidays on an annual basis or something,
Yeah.
just to,
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve, we used to just close earlier. And Easter, have we put those in the new contracts?
Yes, so we are closed Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We close early Thanksgiving Eve and New Year's Eve. So we've always been closed Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We close early on the Thanksgiving Eve and New Year's Eve.
And Easter's always been a paid holiday.
Easter is not a paid holiday. We're just closed. So everybody just adjusts their shifts, their schedules, so they're still making 37 and a half hours. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, but I think we're better if we just handle that and, you know, leave that to the contracts and the official holiday list every year and take the specific
Mhm.
days out of here.
Yeah.
So we're not duplicating things and having issues when we change in one place and not others. So the next substantive thing I have.
Page 25.
I want to just, can we back up to 17?
Yes.
This is one of the copy edits, but I do want to note this specifically, the page 17 under attendance, the third paragraph starts with be sure to.
Yeah.
This is an example of that past language. Be sure to should be edited to you must.
Okay.
I agree with that. Good. Yeah, so I think the next substantive thing is 25. We have this under staff conduct and responsibilities. We have this bulleted list here.
Yeah.
I had a couple comments just about the making them kind of parallel in terms of all being, you know.
Oh, yeah, like the referencing and the
Yeah,
the
because like
phrases.
first one says engaging in, and the second one says engage in. Like we should just make them all.
Yep.
So they're all like noun phrases.
Allison said she made that change.
Yeah, but the other piece, it's not exactly substantive, but it's the very last paragraph, conduct of this type, that one there, and the one that's two above that says in the event of a workplace dispute. Those are not like all the others. All the others are types of conduct that we're saying are not, allowed. Those two are just kind of explanatory sentences that I think just belong not as bullets, but just as their own paragraphs at the bottom.
Okay.
I think we've finished with violating library policies would be the last bullet. And then probably have that conduct of this type paragraph. And then after that, have the in the event of a workplace dispute paragraph. And then those are they're not bullets in that list because they don't really fit
Yep.
the list.
Got it.
And something on nepotism. Next section, first paragraph of the next section. This is a copy edit, but valuable nieces, nephews, and siblings. And the definition of close relatives.
Yeah, on that one also, it wasn't on the list, but I noticed when I was going back through, spouse is the only one that's singular. Like we have domestic partners, plural, and parents, or whatever. We might as well say spouses,
Okay.
just to make it all relatives are defined as and keep it plural like everything else. And that's just domestic partners, okay. So then the next substantive stuff looks like it's on 27.
Yep.
I had a question, and it was about this access to libraries on non-work days. Does that apply to salaried employees, or is that really only thing for like?
You said it applies to all employees. What's the full sentence?
It was, staff members are strictly prohibited from accessing the organization, et cetera, on days they're not officially scheduled to work, unless they've received prior explicit approval from their direct supervisor or director.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Allison said, she wrote, it applies to all employees. So like even like in admin, like if I needed to come in for something, like I need to let Pete know, like, hey, I'm coming in and I'm using the code to come in.
Okay, if that's your process, and
Yeah.
that's fine, then I just,
Because we only have one code for the building. So,
Yeah.
like some places, like you have multiple codes, so you
Okay.
know who came in.
yeah, because I mean, I know like, there's an extra concern when you have hourly employees where you need to make that very sharp division between when you're at work and when you're not. And,
Yeah.
Draw that line, and you can't do any work on non-working time, and you shouldn't be in your, employee restricted spaces when you're not on the clock and those kind of things. But I wonder if we're treating the same with salaried employees where I see there's a lot more flexibility to.
Yeah.
But that's fine. This is just a technical, like a thing, but on the bottom of 27 in that business casual, smart casual, I don't know if this is something that was already fixed or.
Yep, she said complete.
Okay, because there's that section 28.2.3 reference there that doesn't, I assume that's referring to this exceptions to dress code is on the next page because that mentions the athleisure
Mhm.
thing, so that, but it wasn't. Okay, so that's good. Next thing I had I had a question, this is on the social media policy, this is on 34.
Yeah, and she said, I'll check with the legal team.
Yeah.
We're not sure the turnaround with Aaron, that's the only
It's-
thing.
I think the way this is phrased here, I question whether in, at least in some circumstances, this would be enforceable.
Okay,
Because it's you know, the way the law goes is when you have public employees, there's a balancing test, and then if their speech is directed to things that are really just kind of internal employment matters, you can kind of restrict that and channel it through appropriate, you know, things and say, well, you shouldn't be, you know, speaking, you know, out of turn, kind of all those things. But if it goes to a matter of public concern, so if somebody wants to be kind of a whistleblower about, you know, things they think are being badly mismanaged at the library, and they want to write a letter to the enterprise and do that, that may be protected speech that you can't restrict, even though you'd say, we really would have preferred you brought it through internal channels and do that. If it's enough of a matter of public concern, sometimes you can't legally restrict them from doing that.
okay, I see
And,
what you're saying.
but there's not a bright line because it's called the Pickering balancing test. It's a balancing test. And the more it goes to a matter of public concern, the less you can restrict their speech. The more it goes to purely employment issues, the more you can restrict their speech. It's just like,
Okay, got it.
yeah, but I don't know if it's worth, you know, it's just, again, it's something we can think about. It's, you know, I think it's hard to write into a policy because it is this like balancing test or whatever. So.
Got it.
I don't know. There's typo.
Page 35, she said she got that.
Yeah, 36. So this is where the harassment and discrimination and policy starts. So if, I think is our idea is that we.
I think that makes sense. Yeah,
Okay.
just links like,
Right. So then for now, because I had some other comments that all go to the anti-discrimination and harassment policy. So I think we'll just skip those for tonight. And we're just going to prioritize getting the new version of that policy in place,
got it.
you know, as soon as possible, and maybe, you know, next month or something like that, we can
Yeah.
do that. So I'll forget about my comments because I had a few more on the next couple pages that were within that policy. So that carries us. Oh, that goes a couple pages, and then there's only a couple more. We're almost done with it. That's a typo.
46.
Yeah.
What's that?
46
Yeah, looks like 46.
reference checks.
I had a couple comments here. I thought, let me, I don't know what said about any of these ones yet. Yeah, so my question is, because if you look on 48, it talks about reference checks, and it specifically says that responses to such inquiries will be limited to factual information that can be substantiated by the library's written records. So, you know, that sounds like we're only gonna, you know, we're not gonna just give a opinion about, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh, you know, they're a great employee, or we're just gonna say, here's the facts, here we have on
Yeah.
file, or I don't, you know, okay.
Yeah, usually it's like when people call for a reference, it's like verifying the date of the
Yeah.
employment. And it's one of the big questions that people ask is, would you hire this person again? And we don't have to elaborate on that. It's a yes or no question, but that usually gives people enough.
Okay,
So, yeah,
okay. So
and it's only HR that is entering the reference checks.
So so that's why I wanted to clarify, there's like in two places, and one place was, this is on 46, where it's professional behavior after end of employment. And this is basically saying people who, after they leave the library, are kind of behaving unprofessionally in what they're saying about the library. It says the library may choose to refuse to give a reference for the employee. And so I will want, like, that just seemed odd to me if we're saying the only references we're giving in the first place is factual information from the file, then what does it mean to refuse a reference? But you're saying we also give like up or down, like we would hire them again if like.
Yeah,
that
like
seems a little
usually,
different
like,
from-
yeah, when people call for a reference, they usually ask about like 5 questions. It's like, you know, who are you to this person? Like, did they work for you? You know, did they get along well with their coworkers? You know, did they, you know, have a good experience, like, you know, pivoting from, you know, one task to another. But usually it's not like, is this a good employee, and like, tell me all the dirt. It's the one that you really get the, like, would you hire this person again? And we can just say yes or no.
That seems a little odd to me because that doesn't really seem like limited to factual information that can be substantiated from the library's.
So she said in this one, she's like, in those cases, the library will only verify titles and dates of employment. So I don't know if that's like her saying like she would refuse to answer that question, which sometimes that in itself is an answer.
Yeah, it seems like this piece under employment reference checks, like what we're saying here doesn't really match what we actually do is what I'm saying, because if we're saying this is on 48, if we say responses to such inquiries will be limited to factual information that can be substantiated by the library's written records, and somebody's asking, would you hire them again? And we're answering that, that's not really a factual thing that's, in our records. So if that's not our, I don't think we should say that if that's not what we're actually doing, or else we should be saying less to reference checks, one or the other.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion for what we should say instead? Because basically this was put in here because we have had quite a few people depart that basically did not handle it well and would come to board meetings, would slander, the library. So we kind of want them to know, like, if you do that, like that's your reputation.
Yeah, but I mean, so I get like, we're also not a private entity.
Yeah.
Right, and so I think our records of, our references should be very factual,
Mhm.
right? We don't provide an opinion, based on the time that they worked here, right? We can tell you that they worked here from these days, that I am the reporting supervisor, any other like factual, like to Mike's point, factual information about the job itself. I think that's fine. I think our, as an institution, providing an opinion on the employee after the employee leaves, I think it doesn't feel right.
So should we strike this entire section
Well, which section are you?
about reference checks in general?
It seems like a weird thing to have in an employee handbook.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we just do what we do? We don't need to really explain it.
Okay.
So potentially cut the reference checks section on 48?
Yeah, so professional behavior after end of employment, just cut that section.
I think
Because
so.
it's not, like, you're right, there's not really anything enforceable that we can do. Like, we can't withhold their check, we can't
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're boxing ourselves in by saying anything at all. I just think we just leave it. I've never had an employee handbook where I've been told what
Yeah,
they're
me
gonna
too.
do, right?
Yeah,
So just strike this.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and then the other related question I had, and maybe, I don't know if we need to say anything about this, but this is on 46, again, and just a few paragraphs up, where about termination. It talks about termination being treated confidentially. I wondered is that something that's disclosed in reference checks? If someone says, calls for a reference on an employee who was fired, do we disclose that information?
That actually, I don't know, that's a question for Allison.
Okay, because I don't know if that was.
That's something I'd be more comfortable giving than
Yeah.
Well, actually, she answered that actually and says, no, that won't be disclosed. So
Okay.
apparently we don't disclose that. So I guess that paragraph is accurate from what we do, then so we can leave that
Yeah,
alone.
because most of the time, unless the person is on probation, most of the time we don't terminate. We kind of have a disciplinary meeting and we say, like, hey, these are all the things that are going on. We're giving you the option to resign. So most terminations from the library are resignations.
Sure. Okay.
So that's why it usually doesn't get released like, hey, was this person, laid off or terminated, it's like,
Yeah.
no, they resigned. They chose to resign.
Sure.
But you don't want to cut this whole thing out, is that what you're saying?
I think we're saying we'll cut out the employment reference checks section.
The professional behavior
Yeah,
after employment.
because it's not something.
Sorry.
Not something that necessarily needs to be in an employee handbook.
But it isn't, you don't think it's good to notify the employee that if they, applying for a loan or something and they call here that, we will release that? It's just a matter of information for the employee.
I'm sorry, where's this?
On 48.
Where's 48 in relation to the the other clause we're looking at.
The other clause is on 46.
It's okay. I don't have.
Yeah.
numbers of those.
I mean, at least that second paragraph, I think, should stay there, so they know that the library, can do that. No?
Yeah.
And what is 46 saying, what are you on, Barbara?
So it's,
Releasing the information that they've been terminated, is that?
no, this is under employment reference checks. It says the director or their designee will respond to all reference check inquiries from banks, mortgage companies, or other employers.
Yes.
Responses to such inquiries will be limited to factual information that can be substantiated by the library's written records. No other employment data will be released without a written authorization or release signed by the individual who was the subject of the inquiry. And then there's two more paragraphs. Only the director, assistant director, or HR manager may acknowledge dates of employment, position, and salary and wage information regarding employees for the purpose of credit checks, et cetera.
Yeah.
Only the director is authorized to answer requests for personal references and to respond to court orders.
This ain't a problem.
Yeah, I don't think we have an issue.
I think
Yeah,
that,
my only issue was just that one line in the first paragraph where it says responses to such inquiries will be limited to factual information that can be substantiated by the library's written records, which didn't seem to match what we actually do. So I don't know if we want to either just not say that here or.
I would swing the other direction. I would say we keep that here, and we update what we do.
That might, yeah, I think that'll require a conversation probably with Pete and also Allison about that whole, but maybe that's something to.
I still just don't think an employee handbook's the right place for that. And I mean, like, people will ask. My mortgage company has to call,
Yeah.
and then you'll verbally tell them. It seems like we're trying to shoehorn it into a document it doesn't belong in.
And you don't think the employee should know that,
They can ask
that
their,
they can ask for this?
Sure, they'll ask, as people do. If my mortgage company calls, will you? And then you say yes.
So why wouldn't you just acknowledge the dates of employment, position and salary and wage information?
I mean, I think that's different for that kind of thing versus a new employee or a new employer, sorry. So I think
you just-
there's two different things because one is like a
Yeah.
factual, right? Like we
Yes.
call, right.
So you're saying, in terms of someone who wants to verify something for a mortgage, don't put that in the handbook because like if, it'll come up when it comes up, like, so if someone is going for
Yeah.
a mortgage, like, oh, I
Or-
need to verify my employment or I need to verify my student loan, payments, like, let me go to HR and they'll verify that information.
I mean, that's,
Um,
yeah, generally how it works because then
Yeah.
because then you have, or just put that in and don't get into what if,
What happens after you leave?
right, because those are two very different things. So we get information subpoenas at my job for stuff like mortgages and things like that versus getting a reference. So I think they're two different things.
Yeah, I think now that I'm thinking about it, the value to having something in here is this point about only the director, assistant director, or HR manager may acknowledge these things. And that
Yes.
prevents a situation where somebody, needs, for whatever, for a credit, check or something like that, or whatever, they want their like immediate supervisor to, oh, can I, give them and just say, no, that's not the appropriate person. It needs to go through
Mhm.
HR or whatever, to have that in the handbook so people know.
So to that then, under employment reference checks, why don't we pull the entire first paragraph? Right, and we combine the second and third paragraphs into one. Right, so we'll pull the first paragraph, combine second and third into one, and then we get rid of the entire professional behavior after end of employment section.
I'm okay with that.
Seems good.
All right. All right, I had one more thing, which is just a wording thing on the top of
So
46.
we get rid of this
Right
keep
at
these
the
two,
top of
right?
46,
Right.
underneath
Get rid of
the
this one.
bullet list that carries over from the previous page, we have the line that says, at the discretion of the library, discipline may be progressive or immediate. And that just sounded weird to me, progressive word.
46.
Like, I think what it's trying to say is that maybe,
Depending on the situation, if someone needs to
right,
like,
but like progressive, like, I mean, something can be progressive and immediate, like, you know, and like, I think the immediate is referring to like this is under the section about like suspensions and terminations, right? It might be immediate suspension or termination without some smaller progressive, you know,
Yeah.
thing.
I think,
before
it
that.
depends on the
So-
severity of the action. Like if someone got into like a fist fight at work, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you're immediately,
This is that at the discretion of the library, discipline may be progressive or immediate. That's
Yeah.
what-
Yeah, and I had suggested, I think, like, something like,
but if like someone is like, you know, oh, I'm constantly late or, you know,
Yeah.
whatever, that would be progressive. But if someone like gets into a physical altercation, like that's immediate.
so I thought
The
something
two
like
extremes.
discipline may be progressive or may result in immediate suspension or termination.
Okay,
Just to.
The wording,
you know,
okay.
the words.
Yeah, you just heard that sentence.
Yeah, just
Okay.
because, I mean, because progressive, and like, you can have progressive discipline that's also immediate, like, we're immediately gonna impose this minor restriction on you to, like, you're not allowed to do this task anymore immediately. You know, that's immediate, but it's also progressive because it's only a small penalty that they're just trying to be corrective action or whatever, you know, so I think it was,
Got it.
you know, progressive or may result in immediate severe
Yeah.
things, you know, something
Got
like that. That's all I had. And
I'll
Yeah.
work with Allison and Pete
You
tomorrow
have
morning
something else?
to,
Just a small point here, under business travel expenses, we are, I guess we use, what is it? GIS? GSA. GSA and IRS are two different entities, right? So under for example, mileage reimbursement and meals, the MINE, right? We talk about using the IRS per diem rates for these things. I don't know that, does the IRS publish a mileage rate and a per diem? My understanding is that it's the GSA that does that.
okay. From our fiscal manager. So that was just the language we used.
Yeah.
So I could double check with her just to make sure what the entity is.
Okay. All right,
You look it up on the IRS website.
Can you?
I thought so, yeah. Like I said, they came from Colleen, so I just put it in there.
I don't have any idea, so there's no input on this.
But me, Pete, and Allison have the morning free tomorrow, so I'll go over all this with them and see if we can get
Okay.
the most cleaned up version we can and send it back to you guys.
And then, you know, she had already, the ones of mine that were kind of minor wording things, it looks like she already said she made all those, a bunch of those changes. And I think the same can be done with Matt's,
Yep.
where he's got a bunch of, you know, just, you know,
Grammar consistency.
yeah,
things like that.
typography, other stuff like that.
Matt, do you mind resending that to me and Allison?
Are you on the governance distribution
Yes.
list? Then you.
It should be in there? Okay.
Yeah, it was sent. on
Yesterday around.
Sunday,
6:00.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, because Allison is not on that committee, so I'll just go in and forward it to her.
yeah.
Then when you recirculate, you can make a copy, host it out in the GPL share,
Okay,
and then send a link to that.
okay,
Then anything that because I'll read it again, right? And any formatting or copy edits or things like that that I want to bring attention to, I'll just put a comment on it for you.
got it.
Since there is still kind of cleanup and these have to be incorporated and we don't really have, does it make sense for us to take any vote on anything? Or do we just kind of, we'll just wait and get the updated version when it comes through?
Yeah, I mean, reality of the situation, like, do we need another month? Do we need another month?
I mean, I didn't hear from anybody else that isn't, you know, the only people who I heard any comments from was Matt and then myself. So I don't know if any of the other members of the trustees, like, you know, have taken the time to really read it in any detail or have any things they want to add. So, I mean, I'm comfortable as long as these changes, you know, that we
Okay.
talked about today get in, I'd be comfortable with it, but I don't know if other people have an opinion.
I'm fine with that. As long as I like a well-polished document.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, like, I don't wanna, like, I want this baby to be born so it can be a living
Yeah.
document. I also don't wanna rush it for the sake of
Does
rushing
the
it.
handbook include a policy on self-edit? Right around how it's
We
updated?
could add it that we say, like, just like our bylaws, like, we can say, like, this is going to be a living document, we were going to review it.
You know, honestly, that might be something to put in the bylaws under the governance committee, because right now,
Hmm.
it says the governance committee, you know, shall periodically review the bylaws. You know, that's like already in there. show periodically review the bylaws and the employee handbook.
Oh, two birds, one stone.
I think that's good.
And then that just kind of clearly states whose responsibility it is going forward to do
I
that.
like that.
So I think we can put that into our bylaws.
I think,
Good job,
do you want to put anything in the handbook about like this book may be updated at any time at the discretion of the board of trustees?
Was there
Is
something?
that in the
Is it in the
open?
preamble?
I think it's set, yeah, I think it's in the beginning, it says this can be updated at any time. Yeah, it's in the message. It says the library may in its sole discretion alter, reduce, or eliminate the policies, practices, and benefits described in this handbook in whole or in part without prior notice.
There you go.
So that's covered.
Yeah, I like that, adding it to your bylaws.
All right. Well, we don't have a whole lot of time left, unfortunately. We did have two other things that we were thinking maybe we'd be able to get to tonight. Do we want to try and really quickly?
Sorry, are we voting to send this to?
Oh, do we want to vote or do we just kind of, we'll wait till we get the final version and then somebody?
Can you vote via email? So like if we make all the edits
We're not
tomorrow,
supposed to, no.
right? So do you want to?
I think we can just frame it.
How important is it to have it past this person?
It's more just like between me and Allison and Pete, it's more just like a personal, like we just
We
want
just
this
want to get it
done. But
I understand.
And if you know it's that close,
yeah,
does it hurt to wait until the next?
yeah, I hear you. That's where I'm kind of like, I'm trying to put my own personal, like, I just want this baby born. Yeah, I don't want to rush it.
And I think take as like a fresh set of eyes for copy editing, like
Yeah.
that review, 50 something pages, it takes a couple hours to really go through it.
Now it's gonna be reduced because everything's gonna be links.
Right.
Like, look at the website. All right, yeah, I'm good with
Yeah,
that.
I'd like to see what that language looks like as well.
Sure.
So we can take a
Okay.
second pass at this.
Yeah.
So what we can make great progress on it, right? I think we're much closer. We're targeting April.
All right.
And then maybe another month, maybe more people would look at it and possibly have comments.
Hypothetically.
We want to try and grind out one of these other two. Are we trying to hard stop at 6:30?
I have to get out not much past 6:30.
Well, I'll introduce photo and video then, if we're all right with
I
that.
mean, is there a urgency to get the education one done or is it okay? if we
Kind
go-
of, because we really should have had this in place many years ago.
Or this is your, like, your credits and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I want to disband the ad hoc committee because we don't really need to exist after this policy. I mean, if we need to push it another month, it's not gonna kill us, but we should knock it out sooner rather than later, certainly. I mean, I don't
Yes.
think we're gonna knock it out 4 minutes, so I think
Yeah.
either way, we gotta
I had,
push it
I'll
another month.
just explain, I had one question about, do we want to do something a little, like one change that it's in a couple places, but it's kind of a discrete change, which is we refer to, it's an annual requirement and we have this, December 31st deadline here. My question was, would we rather do it on a term year of the library running July to June instead of on a calendar year basis? I looked it up and it seems like because the statute that this is coming directly out of only says annually, but doesn't define the year that it's based on. I found guidance from Western New York,
Yeah.
where their guidance on their website says they recommend doing it by a term year and not by a
Okay.
calendar year. And the other thing is it's tracked through the library's annual report to the state, and that
Yep.
annual report is by the fiscal year, I believe, right?
Correct. Yep.
Everything is by that.
Mhm.
So then we'd be reporting based on the same year that report is based on. So it changes a couple things about, the one plus of it is it means if you have a new trustee coming on, they have the full year to finish it, not just like 6 months until the end of December. So it gives them that time, though ideally they'll be doing the core training early in their.
I was just thinking
term anyway.
that if we do index it to a year, do we want to keep first-time trustees complete this within 6
Yeah, it
months?
says total.
That's not a bad idea, just to say first-time trustees still have to do it, right.
Or with it, yeah.
Early in their term, but then after that, it'll be on the term year instead of a calendar year. It just makes everything line up a little easier when people are coming and going and everything. And if it's calendar year and somebody has finished their time in the first, 6 months, and then their term is gonna be up by the end of it, they're not gonna bother to complete it if they know they're leaving the library at the end of June, and it's not gonna be reported to
So the
December.
annual report is calendar year. It says, I attest, yeah,
Okay.
so this is the
Yeah.
brand new report. I attest that all trustees participated in trustee education in the last calendar year, 2025.
Is that language come from the state, or that's like?
It's the annual report, so I'm assuming it's the state, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And that,
That's interesting.
December
This is a
31st.
brand new report.
That
Okay.
December 31st date came from their sample
Yeah, I
policy
saw-
for this.
I did see that was in it. It was just because I found, I don't know if I can find it quickly yet, because I looked it up before. What is it, like OW? I don't know, it's that. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a library group that's,
Owls,
yeah. Where is that one?
Onondaga, it's all those counties.
Because they had a thing on their website that, OWWL.
Yeah.
The OWWL library system. They had a thing about this on their website where they specifically recommended using a term year instead of a calendar year for this. But if the state is requiring the reporting on a calendar year basis, then that's not
Yeah.
gonna work.
So the only thing I can say, to be fair, is that, so Baker and Taylor was the book publisher that went out of business. We had to switch to
Yeah.
Ingram. They also, for whatever reason, owned the annual report. So this is a completely new annual report. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that will change next year.
Yeah.
Mm.
I wonder, where's that thing that thing where you can do, it's like ask a library lawyer thing that's
Yeah,
server or
that's
something?
lawyer, yeah.
Do you know who hosts that? Is that through
Cole
the-
Adams.
Is that through the New York Library Association? Or is that
Might be through
a ALA?
questions to ask the lawyer.
So part of what we did though here, because we kind of saw the tension in this,
Yeah.
and this, Pete was involved in this decision making, was we just said evidence of number of hours of completed, but we massaged the language that was in the sample policy, which said you have to have completed it by, to just say, tell us how many hours you've done by then. And then if you see below, then we're saying 90 days within the calendar year from your date of appointment.
Yeah,
So that was actually kind of how we tried to address it. We're not saying you have to have completed it by December 31st every year,
right.
because there is tension in that, because like you said, we have this revolving door of different, dates that people are appointed.
It's through ESLIN, Empire State Library Network.
That's where it's through,
Yeah,
because that might be something to ask.
yeah, ask the archivist, ask the lawyer.
Yeah, just, the question of, it says annually,
Mhm.
are we allowed to, do it based on the term year instead of the
Yeah.
calendar year?
Okay, I can,
Could maybe.
Yeah, that would be helpful to know.
okay, got it.
actually.
Yeah, I had another
Says the
question
other way.
about this that I wasn't a bit sure about, which is that paragraph that's about the failure of a trustee to submit evidence of completion within 90 days may result in these. I just wonder, like that, I don't know that that's consistent with, our current bylaws don't have any provision for, restricting people's, duties or loss of, powers based on, or discipline people in that way. Maybe it should, but it doesn't at the moment.
I don't know. That language came from Pete. The sample policy actually is a lot stricter from
Yeah,
New York State Library Association. They want you kicked off.
right.
So I think we have to have something, because otherwise it has no
Yeah.
teeth.
There's
Um,
a provision of the education law. It's not, we don't, like, that, this is something that I was gonna bring up when we get to the bylaws. Our bylaws don't include any reference to this, but the sample bylaws in the trustee handbook have a provision like this. They reference a provision of the education law, and that provision of the education law says that trustees can be basically, expelled or whatever. They can lose their position on a basis of a vote of,
No confidence or something?
failure to meet their duties, you know, as a trustee or whatever, you know, failure to meet their duties can result in, you know, the board, you know, so basically we have that right as a statute, even if it's not in our bylaws, as a statutory matter, we can do that. So if you said, well, one of your duties, your statutory duties as a trustee is to do this education and you fail to do the education, then we can invoke that educational provision and say, well, you didn't meet your duties, we can kick you off the board. So I think that's fine. It's the lesser part about, we're not kicking you off the board, we're just gonna, you're still gonna serve as a trustee, but we're gonna limit your abilities. You know, we're gonna carve out, you're not allowed to participate in committees in certain ways or things like that. I don't think we currently have the authority to do that under our bylaws, and I don't think there's any statute that tells us we can do that. So we either, I don't know, just something to think
Yeah,
about.
I think this was, you know, we were trying to not kick them off, so we kind of came up with this language. I mean, what do you think? Do we say nothing or?
Um,
This language about the 90 days. I would rather see something in the bylaws about having, you know.
Yeah, or maybe we shift it to there and then we could just
Yeah.
cross-reference here to we could take action as per our bylaws.
for the bylaws, and then when we do the bylaws, we can look at, you know,
Makes sense for it to be there.
yeah, some sort of limitation of duties if you haven't, you know, done your training as required. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll try and prioritize this to get this done next month, along with, you know, if the handbook is not gonna be voted on this week, are we thinking we want more time to look at another draft of the handbook? Is that the consensus?
Yeah.
So we'll get the revised draft, we'll kind of do one more pass through it, and then hopefully that'll come up next month.
Yep.
And then we'll, you know, we have at least we got a lot of stuff that's moving that we should be able to get through. Just so we've got only a couple months left of this year, to try and, you know, before the committees change up and we have different, group of people. So I would love to get as much stuff as we can over the finish line in the next couple of months and try and get some things across. So I'll try and send more comments because by email on some of the things. I had a few comments on the photo and video, nothing big, like I thought it was pretty good, and I just had a couple small comments, but I'll send an email with those just so maybe we can hash things out in advance so things will move more, you know, swiftly at the next committee meeting. And then the same, maybe I can, you know, I'll look into, maybe I'll send something into that Ask a Lawyer thing or, you know, if you or anyone does it, let me know that you've already done it. So I'll duplicate the question, but if
I'll
I
send
end
you the
up,
website too.
what's that?
I'll send you the website.
Okay, so because maybe I'll send that question in, and if I get a response, you know, I'll let you know if I do. And then if I get a response, I'll let everybody know what they say about that, and that'll tell us what, you know, what the lawyer thinks about that.
And then the two items we have coming out of today, right, would be to pull the sexual harassment policy from the handbook, and so adding that to our agenda of things to
Yep,
work through, and then pending your conversation with Ask a Lawyer, that addendum to the bylaws.
yeah. All right, we'll try and keep things moving, and I would love to get a handful of new policies plus the bylaws taken care of before our term on this committee is up. So, all right, I gotta run. So thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you all.
Well, yeah, motion to adjourn.
So moved
All right.
or seconded.
All right.
6:37.
Hi.
Bye.
Barb's in there
Aye.
too. Welcome.